Hello, welcome. My name is Ruby Orozco Santos. Welcome to my home. Thank you for allowing me into your space wherever you're accessing this video. You've likely come to this video through La Semilla Food Center's Edible Education Program. Today I'm going to be going over one of the ancestral foods lessons that is included in the Edible Education Program's activity book. The ancestral food lessons are in the second half of the book, and today we're going to go over the first one, which is focused on mint. It starts on page 43. I'll be walking you through the lesson. I'm the one who put it together and researched it, and I'll share a little bit of extra information that's not in the book itself. So I want to welcome you, and before we get started, I want to acknowledge the place where I am. I am sitting here in my dining room table in El Paso, Texas. We are located in the River Valley that is now lined with all kinds of boundaries, international and state boundaries. Not very far away at all from the international boundary with Mexico. And those roads were built on traditional trading routes of native peoples who have migrated on this continent for thousands of years. And I want to send my regards to the original people of this land, past, present, and future. I want to send my greetings and regards also to all of my teachers who have taught me about plants and the earth, including my grandmother and Doña Vicenta Villalba Anaya from Amatlán de Quetzalcóatl in Mexico. I want to send my greetings and regards to all the teachers who are viewing this video, as well as to all the young people who might be viewing this video, who might be students, who are also teachers in your own ways. And I'm enjoying my tea here. I'm steeping my tea, getting it just to the point where I like it. With my very cool Golden Girls mug. It says, "Thank you for being a comadre. Thank you for being a friend." And I love this cup, and I was thinking about using it today because it occurred to me, that plants are also our comadres, because they offer us support and get us through some difficult times sometimes, through their remedies, through their smell, and so in different ways that we interact with plants and with the earth, they're also our support. So I'm very excited that I was able to find some fresh mint to accompany us in this video today. This one's a little wilted because I've done several takes of this video, but nevertheless, here we are ready to start. You ready? Okay, so first I just want to acknowledge that very likely you already have some experience with this plant. This is sort of a crowd favorite and very popular plant, right? And even if you haven't, it's worthwhile to think about how you have interacted with mint, maybe even if it's just as a flavoring, right? What sorts of, where have you tasted mint, in which kinds of candies or other foods, and maybe even in some minty toothpaste. Plants have compounds that are very helpful to human bodies, as well as the soil, right? And for human bodies, scientists study plants and extract their helpful properties in different kinds of medicines and pharmaceuticals. So plants are really amazing, and we also know that some plants should only be used externally, right? And so whenever we're learning about plants, we should always learn from somebody that knows, somebody with experience, so that we are safe above everything else. So in this case, mint is a plant that we're able to eat, even just raw. We can have tea This is one of those plants that we can work with. So I'm going to go over the different sections of this lesson. The goals of this lesson are for students to be able to name at least one way that people use mint, to describe why plants make something called tannins, and to use adjectives to describe the taste of mint tea. The very first section here says, get ready to explore mint. And if I had to summarize this section in 2 words, I would say safety and connection. And so really, this section is about the ground rules for the lesson, with safety being number 1, because we'll be working with hot water in this lesson. So we want to be safe. We might need, students might need support from a grown-up to get some hot water, maybe to boil it or microwave it. And then the other part is the connection, right? So these lessons are designed for students to go through them on their own. I know my son is learning to read, and sometimes he gets frustrated, you know. And so noticing your own body and your feelings as you go through this lesson as a student, and knowing that it's okay to take a break. So connecting with yourself, connecting with your own self, and then connecting with the plant, you know, smelling and noticing, and you know, with our eyes, and noticing with our sense of smell, and then later we'll get to taste it. And so all of that is very important to build that connection, the student's own personal connection, right, with this plant. In this page, we also have at the bottom a section called Mint and Me. And this section is really so that students can write or draw anything that they know about mint already. Because no matter how young people are, we know a lot of things sometimes. And sometimes young people can be our greatest teachers too. I know I learn a lot from my toddler. So I always like to give young people space to state, to express what they already know about a subject before we start going into information that might be complementing what they already know, right? And sometimes we learn from each other this way. So it's important to make a little space. And then also this helps us to see at the end of the lesson what else did we learn that's you know, students didn't already know. So let me share with you a little bit of what I found out about mint. It's a really interesting plant with a very interesting history and use all over the world. So let me give you some background on its history and its uses and benefits for the human body specifically. So the mint genus includes 25 species of herbs that are native to Europe and Asia, North Africa, Southern Africa, and Australia. 2 commonly known herbs from this genus are spearmint and peppermint. Peppermint is actually a hybrid of spearmint and watermint. And peppermint was first cultivated in England in the late 17th century. And by the mid-1850s, peppermint candies were widely available in Europe. In America, mint-flavored candies were made at home for a long time until companies started to make them. So the first one was Wrigley's Gum, which introduced its mint gum in 1893, followed by Peppermint Lifesavers about 10 years later. So let's go on to learn about the uses and benefits of mint. So members of the mint genus have been used by different cultures. People in ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome used mint to add flavor to foods, as a natural remedy, and also for ceremonies. Today, mint is still a very popular herb, and it can be used fresh or dried, and is very common as a food flavoring. Blending peppermint with spearmint results in a tea called double mint. tea. Spearmint is a good source of vitamin A, which is very important for our eyes. It also contains iron, manganese, and folate. And in addition, mint contains antioxidants, which protect cells from being damaged by free radicals, known as oxidative stress, this kind of damage. Many people use mint tea as a home remedy to settle an upset stomach. In clinical studies, peppermint oil has been shown to relieve indigestion and irritable bowel syndrome. And other studies on the benefits of inhaling the aroma of mint essential oil have shown improvements in memory, decreased levels of frustration, anxiety, and fatigue. So even just smelling a mint oil or mint, even just the plant likely, it's very uplifting. So it's very cool to see that scientists are continuing to study and document a lot of this wisdom that is ancestral to so many cultures around the world. In this lesson, the next section is going to be about a steeping activity where we get to learn about and taste tannins. And so tannins are chemical compounds found in some plants that produce them as a natural defense against pests. So plants are very intelligent and they make tannins, which taste bitter and astringent, to discourage the pests from eating them. So some popular sources of tannins include tea, coffee, wine, and chocolate. And tannins give these foods their astringent and bitter flavors. Now, the longer a tea is steeped, the higher concentration of tannins in the tea and the infusion. Tannins are flavorful and have some health benefits. They are anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and antimicrobial. Some are being studied for their potentially cancer-fighting effects. However, they also easily bind with proteins and minerals, including iron. So this makes the body unable to absorb the iron. And for this reason, if someone has an iron deficiency, it's recommended that they eat their iron-rich foods in a separate meal at a different time than they eat their tannin-rich foods. And for people who don't have an iron deficiency, this is not really a concern, so it's okay to eat at the same time your tannin-rich and iron-rich foods. And so in the steeping activity, it's really an experiment. So in that activity, students won't be sweetening the infusion. All that is needed is the cup with the hot water and a tea bag and something to keep track of time. It might be a wall clock, it might be a timer, it might be counting out loud, whatever works to keep time at different lengths of time, tasting the tea to see how it tastes as it gets stronger and stronger, as it gets steeped longer. And the idea here is for students to maybe even close their eyes and connect with the flavors in your own self as you in your own tongue as you taste the tea, and knowing that there's really no wrong answer. This is more of an exploration to see what words you would use to describe the flavor. So there's a tasting log that offers some adjectives that you can just check off, students can check off, but students are always welcome to write, additional words. If there's, if the words that are listed there don't describe their experience and the flavors that they experience. So this is really about, again, connecting with the plant, with the flavor, and seeing what comes through in the flavor. So after that activity, there's a recipe for a mint tea. The suggested steeping time for this tea is 5 minutes, but it's we can encourage students to know that if in their steeping experiments, they found that they enjoyed the flavor most at 2 or 3 minutes, then that's cool. They can modify the recipe, right? It's for them. And so at that point in the recipe, once you're making a tea for enjoying, you can add a little honey to it or some other kind of sweetener, and enjoy your cup of tea. You might want to watch the video that's at the very, very end of this activity while you enjoy your cup of tea. So on page 53 and 54, the video at the very bottom, it says here, take a break. Then watch Dr. Castro read the story of Tata's Remedies on YouTube. You just search for Hechos, Tata's Remedies in YouTube, and you'll find Dr. Castro reading aloud the book My Tata's Remedies, which is really beautiful. It's in Spanish too, Los Remedios de mi Tata, in the book form. In the video, he reads it in English. And it's all about a grandpa and his grandson who's curious to learn from the grandpa about different ways that plants can help. And it's a really awesome book. So maybe that's a nice thing to do right now while people are enjoying their cup of tea. At any rate, at the very, very end of this lesson, you'll find 3 empty boxes where students can write or draw their answers to 3 questions. So the first one is, how do people use mint? The second one, why do plants make tannins? And the third one is, how did the mint tea flavor change over time for you? And so taking that time to write, what you remember from this lesson, what you're taking away from it, and that is the end of the lesson. There's always more that we can do with plants. I recommend a journaling activity where students can use their senses to explore mint, whether you're working with a dry version of a dry tea bag or if there are fresh mint leaves on hand. Take some time to experience the plant and see if you can involve all your senses, your sense of touch, sense of sight, looking at the leaves on top and bottom, right? Sense of taste, maybe tasting a little bit of a leaf. Smell, of course, touch. So all of the senses, and then journal about it. What did students see, feel, smell, or taste? And that can be done with any, especially of the aromatic kitchen herbs. Another idea for something to do with plants is to talk to someone in your family, in students' families that know about plants, and ask them what they know and where they learned. So those kinds of conversations are very important to keep this knowledge alive in our families. So I invite you to explore the knowledge in the students' families, in the communities already present, and to build on that and to connect to that always. So that's all I have. Thank you so much for allowing me to get into your home. And I hope to see you again in one of these next videos, or maybe even out in the world sometime. So have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you.